Now, this year's Tedx Glasgow event took place on Friday at the SEC Armadillo. Tedx, if you don't know, it's a programme of local self-organised events that bring people together to hear inspiring speakers whose talks spark discussion. And this year's Glasgow theme was connection. Scottish musician, campaigner and activist Annie Lennox took to the stage to discuss global feminism, leaving no one behind in the women's movement, in which she highlighted the huge inequalities and injustice still being experienced by millions of girls and women across the globe, including misogyny, rape, violence and human rights abuses. In her conversation with TEDx Glasgow organiser Gurjit Singh Lally, she talked passionately about how we as a connected community can help to create and indeed drive change. I met Annie Lennox in her dressing room straight after her appearance. Annie Lennox, it's just a few minutes after you stepped off stage, having spoken about global feminism to the audience at the Armadillo. What was it like out there? What was it like out front? What was the atmosphere like?
Very warm, very welcoming. I really like the Armadillo. It's the first time I've been in the theatre, and it's just the right kind of size for me. Sometimes, when you see some of these concerts, they're huge. Yeah. And I find that a bit overwhelming, to be honest. I think there's about 4,000 capacity there, and it was full and lovely. And I think somebody said you couldn't hear a pin drop. So I'm very happy about that, because that meant they were focused.
TEDx is a remarkable phenomenon, actually. I mean, exactly what you're talking about, this venue, there is that intimacy. And it is, I guess it's the glory of the good aspects of the digital age, whereby people can go online and listen to these talks anywhere or be in a lovely hall like this. Are you a fan of TEDx? Do you dip in and out to find out about stuff? Have you done it before?
Absolutely. And actually, to be frank, I did give a TEDx talk many moons ago about HIV/AIDS, when I was wearing my HIV/AIDS t-shirt and campaigning very, very stridently about how HIV was affecting women and children. And it's a scary thing doing a TED talk. And that's the reason why I didn't. I had a conversation with Gurjit because I thought that would be my preferred means of communication. I do watch TED. I think TED is an incredible connector, inspirational platform where people can actually see the spread of global, as I say, global ideas. Yeah. And you know what it is? It's like this world is so nuts. And there's so many terrible things happen. Every day you pick up the paper or you look at a news item, something really appalling. And what I think about TED, honestly, and there's no need for me to be promoting it at all, but I just think this is what people can actually do. It's so positive. Actually, if we really could, get the political will, people that come with these TED ideas, and they're so remarkable, and they actually do inspire and create transformative change in the world. Why can't the governments of the world kind of be more responsive and more receptive to these kind of forums, to understanding that people have the power? I know that sounds like an old hackneyed cliche, but the power of people and their ideas is revolutionary.
And it's interesting that the sort of waves up and down we've done with feminism, and you referred to this actually when you were on stage. For a while there, it was really difficult to sort of almost come out and go, no, I am a blooming feminist. And now it's brilliant. You think this, and I absolutely think this. It's so inspiring. There's a younger generation who've come through, whether they're using it through stand-up comedy or just being activists, and they're like, yes, I'm out and loud and proud, I'm a feminist. So the concept of global feminism, though, is really interesting.
Yes.
And you mentioned the idea of connectedness too, because I think ironically in this digital age, 24/7 news and all the rest of it, people can feel still terribly isolated. So it's still a massive challenge. Could you sort of sum up in a nutshell, if you can, just what you're hoping to, or what the philosophy or the vision is behind global feminism?
Okay, so as you mentioned earlier, the term feminist has been a tricky term over the decades. In some ways people identify with it, but they say, I think I identify with it. I don't really know whether I do or not. But, there was a great deal of work that went on behind the scenes to get that terminology out there. I know this because I was a little bit part of that, really encouraging people to use that term feminist and feminism. And one day, one of the people that I've been working with on this sent me a picture from a news agent's stand where every single magazine had the word feminist on its front cover. And a few years before that, you would never see the word. It was just like, it was hidden away. Nobody dared to speak it. People just avoided it. It caused a lot of discomfiture. Now, it's just out there in the zeitgeist. So, I am a feminist completely. But I see that feminism in the West looks more towards itself, refers more towards itself. I see feminism from a global perspective. I see the need for feminism from a global perspective. And I also think that global feminism is inclusive of everyone, and that means boys and men. And we have to have boys and men comfortable using this term, understanding what it means. We have to change attitudes before we can change behaviours. And this terminology is essential, because otherwise the issues are invisible. And that's my absolute committed firm belief. And that is why I'm promoting it. And I just want everybody to understand what it is and to start using it.
Yes, and that's the issue, isn't it? That if people feel empowered to use a word like feminist and be very proud of that, it's the whole idea of changing attitudes, because people can feel that, what can one person do or what can a few people do? How can we effect change in this world of bizarre politics that we're in? But are you hopeful that a generation going forward, they can be the new leaders?
Totally, why not? Why not? What's to stop it? I mean, the justification is so evident when you think about the fact that 1 in 3 women have been physically or sexually violated in their lifetime globally. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is such hardcore stuff that we've got to start to talk about it. We've got to start to know about it. That, as I said on the stage, 775 million adults on the planet are illiterate. 2/3 of them are women. And I'm just, that's 2 little facts. Just start with that. Maybe just start with violence against women. And if you own it and you say, I know this fact, and it makes me a global feminist. Mm-hmm. That's what each individual person, I really do believe in the collectivism of the individuals. That's how it works. It starts with you. Listen, I'm long in the tooth. I've seen many a change. I've seen all these decades that I've lived through, and I've seen how things can be transformed, sometimes for the bad, sometimes for the good. This is only for the good of everyone. If you give girls and women empowerment, the world will be a better place.
So you truly are hopeful, because I know that so many people listening, and I'm among them, we sort of like binge on box sets of dystopian dramas. Yes. There's all of that. We feel that the reality we're living in is almost dystopian, and it's so
it
easy.
Is. Yes. It is.
So you think it's easy to give up hope and think,
yes,
what can the individual do? But you are hopeful.
Listen, I'm like everybody else. I have deep dives into dystopian existentialism. I truly, truly do. But my activism and my advocacy, when I put my T-shirt on, when I'm talking, when I'm going out there and I'm talking about what I truly believe in, my hope over my despair, then I feel I'm doing something of value, that my life has a certain kind of purpose. And even if I'm talking into the void, when I'm talking into the void, I do get despairing. But if I'm talking when I'm getting something back and people are actually responding, that gives me encouragement. That makes me think, well, it's worth trying.
Yeah, and I absolutely truly believe in the importance, particularly of women getting up and taking any platform they can have, because you just know that ripple effect is quite extraordinary. Gurjit referred to you as a role model. I'm sure you don't go around thinking of yourself particularly like that, but you know the power.
Right.
The power.
I don't. That's right.
But you do have a powerful voice in more ways than one. But for you, early on, I mean, were there any particular female role models in your life? Was that sense of activism there early on for you?
That was such a different time, In terms of music, definitely there were a few role models that I looked towards, and was inspired by what they were doing. Joni Mitchell, Carole King, Diana Ross and the Supremes, the women that were there, Dusty Springfield, all the incredible women. Lulu, I loved Lulu. She was on the television every Saturday and I loved her. The times change. And yes, I would say there have been women that have inspired me. Anita Ruddock, who was the most incredible activist, who along with her husband Gordon founded the Body Shop and had the most visionary ideas and was just the best activist and advocate you could ever imagine. So sadly, I miss her to this day. She passed away several years ago. But being with Anita, also my to be honest, and this might sound a bit bombastic in a way, meeting Nelson Mandela was just extraordinary because, of all activists, Mandela truly, after spending something like 27 years incarcerated for his beliefs, and you meet a statesperson like this, and he's saying that, he believes in women. Mm-hmm. He believed in women. And that was one of the reasons why he was pushing behind 46664, because he wanted to see a change. He didn't want to see 1 in 3 pregnant women being HIV positive, as they were then, and they still are,
Yeah. You're coming back to this very venue in September for your evening of music and conversation. The one you did, it was Sadler's Wells in London, wasn't it? It was a great success. I was having a wee look online and the people were so enthusiastic and quite emotional about it. But overwhelmingly, they were all like, we'd like more music and we'd like her to get back on stage with that gift. She owes it to us. She needs to do it. How do you must be so aware of that, with people exhorting you to do that.
Am I aware of it? Yes,
yeah.
I am aware of it. I'm aware of it. But I have physical challenges that mean that the rigours of touring, which I did, so consistently for decades, I'm afraid I'm just at that point where I can do the odd thing now and again, but I cannot tour. It's just, it would crush me. Mm-hmm. And I don't have the energy in me. I don't have it. I like to do things now and again. And I'm sorry to everyone that wants to see me, but and that maybe won't be able to see me, and I wish that I could just be beamed up, and probably very soon there will be a chance of that happening. In fact, it is happening, but yeah, I mean, I don't like to disappoint anyone. But I can't live for other people's expectations. I must live for my own, where I know where my own capacity lies.
It's an incredibly honest answer, and it's great to hear that. I'm sure your fans will appreciate your honesty too. But it's just seeing you on stage, particularly just looking at a video that somebody had taken from that night at Sadler's Wells. Again, a bit like here, there was that incredible sort of emotional connection with the audience and a warmth. And although absolutely you're saying you wouldn't want to do the touring, it does look like a place where when you feel that warmth in the audience, that's obviously a special place for you still, when you do it occasionally.
Yes, I have to say it's something remarkable. But it's a funny one, because I've always been a bit of I won't say Jack in the Box, but I would say Jill in the Box. I sort of pop out like cuckoo, and then I go back in again. Touring is very isolating. You have to use so many resources, energetic resources of practice. You have to stay for hours alone. What people see at the end that they love so much, they have no idea what goes on behind the scenes. Nothing just comes easy like that. So I've always have put my, well, not my aspirations. Yes, my aspirations. I put them very high,
yeah.
And it's never good enough. So I always punish myself over what I think I failed to do, and I always try my best, but it's just never quite enough in my mind. So I come off stage thinking it was not so sure, and it's a weird one, really, for me.
So just finally, for that evening, if people are interested in going along, a mix of conversation about bits about your career as well as the activism, but also some music. Will you be there with a band?
Yes, there will be music. We'll get to the music. We'll have a little chat with Muriel Gray. And I think it will be quite emotional for people because, I'm a child of the 50s and born and bred in Aberdeen in Scotland. And then again, I'm unusual because I left. And I was an outlier, and I'm still an outlier, and I always will be. It wouldn't have mattered where I was born. I think I would have had to leave it. I would have had to find some other place to find something or some other people that were like-minded. In my case, it was Dave Stewart. He was my compadre for so many years. That's where I found him in London. He found me in London. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's a lot of memories. There's a lot of things to say. There's a lot of visual imagery that I want to share with people, and it will be on a very big screen. And
wow.
It's very extraordinary, even for me, to sort of look at it. I want to reminisce a little bit, and I want to give people in the audience a chance to do that as well. And for people that are young, I would like them to sort of get a sense of a person that has stayed the course in a certain kind of way. And what I have to say today, I'm not living in the 80s. This is 2019. I live now. I live each day at a time. And my messaging is about global feminism, and I have a huge story behind me and a lot to share. We'll try and sing a few songs.
Muriel and backing vocals.
I haven't asked her if she'd like to do that.
She'll be game for it, I'm sure.
I'm sure she would.
Annie Lennox, lovely to talk to you. More power to your global feminist elbow. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
There you go, Annie Lennox.